to have you up on your feet for a little bit when we start talking about curriculum. So, of course, if you're in the car, it might be a little tricky, but our friends who are at home, we're going to be standing up shortly to get warmed up together. But I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. And I have my beautiful co host, co teacher here with us. If you'd like to go ahead and say hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo AbiNader, and I'll get to
How
chat.
long have you been with us, Miss AbiNader? How long have you been with Lotus and Ivy?
I've been with Lotus and Ivy for 5 years from the very first year we did online programming, and I was mostly for all of those 5 years in third grade, but also teaching other classes in the flutes and other different classes. So this year I'm very excited to wrap around to first grade.
Yes, ma'am. And so this will be your sixth year
Coming
with
up is
Lotus and
my
Ivy.
sixth year with Lotus and Ivy.
So exciting. So, yeah, two veteran Lotus and Ivy teachers this year coming back to first grade, and we cannot wait to do it. So, if you are in a place where you're able, let's just stand up together and start our meeting exactly how our first graders are going to start their day. So, if you can, go ahead and stand up, move your chair if you need to. Every day when we log into our Zoom, we get to start our day with usually a couple of good stretches. So, give yourself a stretch, get that blood flowing. Yes, over to the side. Oh, like a big willow tree in the wind. Oh, get the branches up over your head. Yes, the big wind might blow your limbs backwards. Whoa. The big wind might blow your limbs forward too. And the big wind will let your limbs rest. And let's join in our verse for our first grade, how we begin our mornings. It goes like this. You guys do the motions with me. And if you know it, go ahead and say it with me. The earth is firm beneath my feet. The sun shines high above. And here I stand so straight and strong. All things to know and love. And it might be morning where you are, it might be afternoon, but let's do one more stretch together before we sit down. This is one I do with first and second grade. That's a little tricky. So it's all about building up our balance, building up our will forces. So, grown-ups, we need this too. We're going to see if we can touch our nose to our knee. Okay? Just give it a try. Can you touch your nose to your knee? Bringing your knee up to your nose. Can you do that? Oh, some of you got some good bounce going. Okay, try the other one. Okay, other knee. And we do that with a little verse, finding our balance. You can put your hands out if you need to. We go like this. Good morning, my dear knee. Good morning to you too. Did you sleep well? Did you sleep well too? Okay, here's the hard one. We're going to hold our nose to our knee for the whole sentence, okay? Yes, I slept well, thank you very much. Okay, other one. Yes, I slept well too. How did you do? Are you feeling alive? Are you feeling awake? Yes? Okay, excellent. We can go ahead and find our seats. It's so much fun to begin our day with movement. And I think that's the beauty of Waldorf education. Is even when we're in person, if we're at a brick and mortar school, typically we begin our day doing some form of movement together. That could be going outside in the quad and doing all sorts of exercises together while we skip count. That could be doing stretches like we just did together with different poems and different songs to lead our way. It brings in our learning through our bodies, even when we don't even realize we're doing it. We learned about balance. We learned about how long it takes to say a sentence. We call that phrasing, right? And we learn about how to control our breath while we're doing these activities. And it just really establishes a firm way to begin our day. So now we're all feeling awake, aren't we? And we're ready to do our work for the day. And that's exactly how our first graders would be able to dive right into their day. So, as I said, my name is Dr. Rezzelle, and my dissertation was on how to teach educators about how to use the arts within their curriculum. So, my whole goal, my ethos of teaching is really the beauty of how the arts can teach us, not only teach our minds, but teach our souls as well to become confident, competent people engaging with other people in the world. And so that's really what drew me into Waldorf education. I spent a decade inside of the public school system, really worried about my students with how they were going to be able to integrate social emotional learning and interpersonal learning. And then when I found Waldorf education, I saw the beauty of how this type of learning lets students learn together and really integrates their head, their heart, and their hands, which is one of those phrases that many of you have probably heard in your Waldorf journey. So in first grade, we really start to dive into that. It's our first official grade of the school year. We're at the beginning of all of these beautiful things. Our students have come off of kindergarten with its rich storytelling, its practical nature of really getting them to work with their hands, doing chores around their house, building things. And we still need to take that mentality into first grade. So everything we do, whether it's learning about our letters, whether it's learning about our numbers, whether it's learning beginning arithmetic, we want to make sure that we use our whole body because our students are still in that mentality of getting accustomed to being on the earth. And we want to bring that into how we learn things. So when we're learning about our letters, we're not just going to be sitting down in front of our computer screens. Sitting down's the worst, right? Our first graders want to be up and moving, running around most of the time, and definitely dancing. So we'll be using those skills inside of our hour that we have each day, 3 days a week, to really dive into our curriculum. So to give you a little bit of an idea of what we might do with when we're learning our letters or when we're learning our numbers, our week will begin with a story. And this beautiful story it could be a fairy tale, it could be a traditional American tale, it could be a folk tale, it could be an indigenous story or a story from around the world. And it will have a nugget that is about what we're learning about for the week. So maybe it's a story about a dragon who lives inside of a cave. That's two alphabet letters we're going to be learning about that week. We got our lovely cave, our C shape for the cave. And maybe our dragon has a great big belly that looks like an uppercase D. We bring those letters out of our story and out of the images that come from that story so that our students have a deeper relationship to where those letters come from, the sounds that they make, and how they relate to words. And that helps us learn about how to sound out different words too, and to make language more accessible to our students, because that's really our goal is to make these things more acceptable to them and accessible to them as well. So we'll see the letters coming out in our drawings. We'll be able to practice them with our bodies. Have you tried to make the letter Z with your body before? Our first graders are going to. Have you ever tried to make the letter H with your body, with your arms and your legs? Our first graders are going to. And they're going to come out with all kinds of really fun ways to make those different shapes. We're going to use our feet to draw out letters. We're going to mold them with clay, paint them with beautiful colors to make all of these things come and resonate very strongly with us and to set up our first graders for success as they go on to be the scholars that they will become. So everything is taken from all of these different elements, all these different artistic ways to meet the student holistically, right? We say head, heart, hands, but yes, that also translates into being a kinesthetic learner, to being a listening learner, an oral learner, someone who needs to speak what they know. We have all of these different modalities that we get to tap into to really make the education resonate strongly with the child. And so that's what we'll be doing inside of our main lesson is making all of these things come alive. We're not just going to be sitting down, like I said, we'll be up and moving for most of our classes inside of first grade. We have a beautiful circle that begins our day before we get into our work. And then we'll also get to have some really strong, firm artistic foundations as well that'll really get our students geared up for learning for many, many years to come. Now, that's just a little intro to why we do the things that we do to get us started. Ms. AbiNader, I'm going to pass it on over to you so that we can unpack a little bit more of that.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rezzelle. Thank you, Doctor. I love saying that,
Me
honoring you
too.
in
I love
that
hearing
way.
it.
I'm just Ms. AbiNader. I live in Portland, Oregon, so I'm coming to you from the West Coast. And as I mentioned before, I'm in third grade right now, so the paintings that you see are really third grade paintings. With this coming up, I have taught first grade in 2 cycles. So I've taught first through eighth grade twice, one in Hawaii and one here in Portland, Oregon. And what I've learned from that is where we get to. So being able to see the children in first grade and thinking, why is that child always rolling on the floor? And then seeing them in eighth grade giving their well-researched final milestone speech before they go on to high school. And seeing that transition and that progression has really relaxed me a little bit about what we're doing. But also, I have that background that in the last few years I've done an extra lesson background, which is a Waldorf remedial education program. And I did a certification with that helps me see where are we struggling or where might there be obstacles within the body. And it's something I like. It's like some of the activities in it that I understand are what now we're seeing everywhere as brain body connection or occupational therapy, but through an educational lens. So that lens, and when Corrina's talking about the circle that we do, we're actually doing a lot of those cross midline activities and intentionally helping the child's body be supported so that they can make that body-brain connection. So it's really pretty cool what first grade can do for your child. Especially, we're all choosing to not be in the mainstream public school system where the children are asked to use their brain first before getting their foundation. And so we're really working to get the foundation going. So, and at this age, at 6, 7 years old, the just fooling. I don't do that with the children. That's gross. I also in my home tutor middle school children, so I get the whole range here. Um, Rudolf Steiner, the founder of Waldorf education, talks about the 6-year-old incarnating more and more into their body. And the way I like to say that, like, what does incarnating mean, right? So that what he's talking about is their spiritual knowledge is integrating into their physical body. So that those are milestones that we can see happening. So maybe a child draws without putting any hands or feet on their drawing. Or maybe they're moving, but moving still in symmetry like a young child rather than being able to have one side of the body do something different, or their fingers. So we are working with that incarnation. And what I see it meaning in this day and age is that we're working towards more stamina. So being able to be attentive to a thought, idea, story, for longer periods of time. We have very little stamina, grown-ups and children, in this day and age. So stretching that stamina is extremely important for their learning. Being able to have quiet moments, not just everything be blah, like the world feels sometimes. So that focus, the inner organization, is all worked on through the movement that we do. We also help the children incarnate through interest and imagination. So like Ms. Rezzelle said, the stories that we tell, that they are creating those stories in their imagination, which is a direct path to making the story when they're reading. So reading becomes, oh, I can tell what I'm reading because most people can create those images that go with that. So instead of worrying about hard, cold facts, which the internet provides for us instantly, and a lot of children love knowing hard, cold facts. Did you know the dinosaur, blah, blah, blah. Did you know that? It's like, that's nice, but now let's experience something, right? So hard, cold facts are kind of just stuck in our head. What we want them to do is be able to live in their imagination so that they can express themselves. And when they're in college and need to know hard, cold facts, they will have so much more capacity to do that with this gentle integration into it. Doesn't mean, no, don't tell me your hard, cold fact from the teacher or grown up, but it means, yes, let's put that in a story. Let's kind of, what would that look like if you made it out of clay? Or that kind of warm it up a little bit with their heart forces. So we want to be able to dream about things and make connections all through our own capacities, the child's own capacities. And then the third thing for incarnating, I would suggest, is to first grade really lays the foundation, the building blocks for all other learning that they will do. For example, what science are we going to do in first grade that isn't intellectual, isn't proof? How about let's start at the beginning with observation. Can we observe something without having to know its name, without labeling it? I don't know how, I'm trying to figure out how I'll do this online because I haven't taught first grade online, but in my in-person class, I would have them smell an essential oil. And instead of try to guess, oh, that's peppermint, they had to try to describe it. Oh, that smells a little sweet. Or that smells earthy, or that smells woody. So rather than just know the answer, that we were trying to develop their observation skills so they could use it in so many more ways than just knowing it smells like peppermint. So that's one example of creating a foundation for science, basically, is being able to observe without needing to know exactly why, how, when, where, that kind of thing. And if they do know, that's fine, whatever. A way that for the building blocks in literacy is to really, as we said, know the letters and know the sounds of the letters, how they form words and word parts before trying to learn to read in a book, learn how to write them, how they look and how they feel in our body. So that one was already covered. Arithmetic, in first grade, we learn the 4 operations, but all through experience, right? So we're moving our body, we're dividing up gems through games and songs. We might never see the little division house in first grade. I don't quite remember if we do. I think that comes more in second grade, right? Yeah, later, like the symbols and things. But in our body, we're working to experience and feel it inside. What would it be like to divide up our fingers, our, gems, that kind of thing? In geography, all of the movement that we do is, where am I in space? And the first place to start, as in all Waldorf curriculum, start with myself, in the human being. Even when we study astronomy in 6th grade, we start with what we see with our naked eye, the human being, and then branch out to what the telescope has brought us and what we can go beyond that, right? So starting in the here and now with this body that we have really helps the children incarnate. Now, one other thing that I just wanted to share with you to build off of what you've already heard so far, and I will share a little bit about the block rotation that we'll do. But what we always say, we do this in an age-appropriate way. What does that mean? Who's age appropriate, right? If you're going by the standards in public school, that means one thing. But here in Waldorf education, we're talking about the inner development as well as the physical development, as well as the emotional development and intellectual development. So what can a first grader understand, right? What can they understand, really digest and have inside them? So in an effort to approach that, we usually use a 3-day rhythm or a 3-part rhythm. It's not always a separate day. So at first we experience it. It's the story, it's acting it out, it's moving through space. That's the first stage of age appropriate taking it in. Now in an older grade, that might mean something totally different. They don't need to physicalize it all in the exact same way, those 8th graders. So then after that, we create it. We use the imagination in first grade. We draw a picture. We build something with beeswax or clay. Then we're creating it so we can see what we imagined and experienced. And then we begin to write it and to read what we wrote, that kind of thing. So some of your children may already know their alphabet. They may already know what each letter sounds like. They may already be reading chapter books. And you might think, oh, is this going to be boring for my child? Well, I can suggest that no, it won't be. And I have had students who have not been bored, who were fluent readers at the beginning of first grade, but still the nuance of the story, we really have to help them listen fresh to the story. Oh, I've heard that one before. Oh, yeah, not the way I've told it, right? So a storyteller can tell the story however they feel. So helping the children really, oh, I didn't hear that part. Oh, okay. So really tuning in, that's part of that focus and learning it. So in the curriculum, oh, and then the third is to intellectualize it, right? To make it be a part of our thinking and our memory so that we can use it again and again. So I also find first grade, and as I did with third grade as well, I guess I should say, in this Waldorf on virtually, in person virtually, I find you homeschool moms and dads and caregivers to be super important to our work collaboration together. So that sometimes I might need you to be your child's partner in an activity so that they can get the interactive experience, so that we can try some string game activities that are very difficult to see through the screen, right? For me to say, get your other pinky, whatever like that. So that some of these activities will need a partner at times. And Ms. Rezzelle and I will go over figuring out with our own classes how that will work for us individually. This is a commitment to your child's education. You are your homeschool parent families, right? So we are supporting you in that and interacting with you. So, and I'd love to hear your ideas of cultural stories from your family, festivals that we could bring into the children from your point of view. It doesn't have to be one curriculum. Waldorf education isn't just one curriculum, even though you might get other ideas looking on Facebook or on curriculum websites. This is the curriculum. That's not how it is. Each of us, Ms. Rezzelle and myself, will use the best parts of ourselves to bring these inner intentions to your child. So we might not do the same stories. We might not have the same paintings. We might not have the same poems because we come from different backgrounds. Although I'm a theater background person too. I taught theater.
Yeah, we're both theater people, so
So there's a lot. There's a lot in common there, But she's not. Yeah. So we bring our own experience to the table to enrich and interacting with the children in front of us, so that I might change a lesson based on how the children responded one day. So to get that, I think that's a decent introduction. I don't know if I missed anything. We do the curriculum in blocks. And in first grade, I had a master teacher tell me once, oh, you're going to first grade. What are you going to do? Math or language arts? Math or language arts? Because that's what each block is. So each month of study will be a deep dive into literacy. And then the next month or so will be a deep dive into arithmetic. And then we do bookend each block. So it goes that way through the year with form drawing, which is a conditioning of how the body can integrate all of the information through story and movement. And hopefully we'll get all of the children to have a nice big form drawing tablet. I don't know, this is what I use in my group for the big circles and, and we will have some main lesson books that we will make beautiful with the work that your child does. So, did you want to top that off, or should we just look at questions, Ms. Rezzelle?
That was absolutely perfect, Miss AbiNader.
Okay.
Let's move into questions.
All right,
I'm
so
gonna look at the chat. Nothing in the chat so far, but if you have a question, just feel free to ask.
Hi,
hi.
Hi.
I'm at work, so my video is off. Give me 1 second. Well,
Okay,
Not
can
a
you hear
problem.
me
I see
okay?
a
Is that
hand
okay?
up, and I see, is that Aisha speaking?
It is, Aisha. How are you?
Aisha, hi.
Okay, so I wanted to clarify. You mentioned you're going to do math and language art in blocks, so it'll be kind of a rotation, right? So both are not done at the same time, correct?
That's correct. I didn't mention that I also am teaching skills class, which is
Right.
2 periods
That
of
was my
language arts
question. Yeah.
and 1 period of math. And those are, we actually have our menu as an a la carte menu, but we highly recommend that you also register for math and language arts skills classes. What the point of those classes is to take what is introduced in main lesson and expand it even further. And for both language arts and math, the first semester might be mostly rhythm, movement, and counting out loud, and then as the year progresses, it'll get more and more detailed. So yes, thanks for reminding me that, Aisha.
So then
Um,
if a month you're only doing language arts in skills class for the math, how would you complement the main lesson?
the skills classes just keep going. Language
Yeah.
arts will
Okay.
just keep going the whole year, 2 periods a week, and math will just keep going the whole year, 1 period a week. Yeah. And
Okay.
then
So it
whatever
doesn't
happens,
have to match up with the main lesson,
it does
correct?
not match up, no.
No.
And in the
Okay.
past, we did it where it alternated, where the skills classes alternated the main lesson, but that's not the case anymore. It's just going to be, you can still practice the sounds and words and doing syllables, and the language arts will
Yeah.
all be all about those pre-reading skills of how we use our ears, phonemic awareness and
Hmm.
phonological awareness, so that there's so much to do before you need to write the letter B or the letter C and write words. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right. And Clark
Clark?
Lunar.
Hi,
Hi.
Clark, and thank you so much. You have brought such wonderful energy and clarifications. I really appreciate it. My two questions are, and feel free to like if it's jumping around too much, let me know. Um, Homework, if that's a thing, and what to expect around, yeah, just what to expect. And then will you stick with the classes as they progress? I know that, you mentioned seeing like the first graders and they go all the way to like eighth graders. I know that it seems like for Lotus and Ivy, there's kind of a blend. Like sometimes it looks like some teachers move on with classes and a few others um, kind of like stick with their grade. And I was just curious. It might be too soon to tell, so no problem if so, but I was just curious if that was information you already had planned.
Thank you.
I can speak to both of them if you want me to. So in terms of if we're going to loop and go up, we don't know yet at this time. We don't know what our 2027-2028 school year is going to look like. Miss AbiNader and I have both been in I've been in second grade, and Miss AbiNader has been third grade for some time. So we're excited to be able to go back. We both have already talked about we would totally move back up. So it just depends on how it happens. And for homework, yes, we do have small amounts of homework, but the homework is not going to always, it's not going to look like a worksheet, right? The homework could be go out in nature and pick fallen leaves and create all of the letters that we did this week. Spending time doing that. Or if we're in a stories block, it could be act out the story with your family at home, take pictures and or video and send it to us so we can watch them, or make puppets of something. It's going to be taking what we've learned and allowing the student to be able to really keep working on those skills, but do it in a very engaging way. And it depends on the week too. At the beginning of the year, you won't see as much homework, but then by the end of the year, you could see, you know, an hour of it for the whole week, right? So we don't want to just bombard you all with homework, because that doesn't speak to the development of our children, right? It's something that just starts to slowly come in and complement their learning. That's what homework should be. It should be a complement, not busy work.
It's not homework that weighs you down in
Yeah,
sixth grade when you're doing a whole page of math problems for some children,
exactly.
right? It's intended to support you as your child's homeschool teacher in extending what we're doing in our group.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you. Is that good? Okay. Let's see. Yes.
Alicia.
Hi. I just had a quick question. about how you work with kids that are really anxious around not knowing things. So I have a neurodivergent son, and because of how a lot of schools put pressure on kids to learn academics early, he has been in like some settings where he has felt like very stressed out about not knowing things. And so I'm just kind of curious about, yes, sweetie, just a second, okay? I saw it. Yes. Just about like how you help kids deal with that kind of anxiety when they're coming into like a group setting. And yeah, just wondering about like, are there a lot of opportunities where there's comparison between kids? Because I think that is like, sort of a
That's
epidemic in our educational system,
right.
and I really don't like
Your
that.
comment,
So
it's really good and it's really timely. I've had a lot of, I have a lot of experience in working with children in the in-person and online setting, so that I've noticed like last time I taught first grade, they're now eighth graders in in-person school, right? And when they were in first grade, it was the first time in the 8 years since I had taught it before, where the children came in thinking they should already know. They didn't have this sense that we're learning together. And so I kind of created a bunch of activities where, okay, I'm just using this for an example. Are we going to do something new now? Yes, we're going to do something new. When you do something new, do you already know how to do it? No. Well, how do you react? But do you have a fit? Let's have a fit. Let's be mad at the string game now. And we could act out, yeah, I can't do you. You're no. So kind of allowing them ahead of time to, and it's actually, I'd say, got to be done very carefully because it could just go straight to the intellect, right? Or we want it to be in their heart space. So allowing them to get mad and frustrated, and then always highlighting, well, what did you do that was new today? Kind of allowing them to see that they did do something new, even if we didn't all get to the very end result. As far as comparing, when children are in a room together, they're in charge of their own comparing, and they can compare as much as they can, depending on how upsetting it is to them, or maybe they're oblivious and don't even notice. And so there are children who, in this environment, that really do compare, and they're looking like this at their screen and need to be asked to step back, but it's less likely that in any bigger way. Do you think that's so?
I do. What's really nice about being on this platform too, and you explained this really well, Miss AbiNader, is we try to all stick together. And that's one thing that's really beautiful about Waldorf in first grade is we're all doing the same things. So you really can't compare like apples to oranges because we are really doing the same things together. And we build in my class and in second grade too, we're doing this. We build a lot of time where we make sure that we say something complimentive to every person. So if a student is showing their thing that they illustrated for the writing that we did, this is for second grade, obviously, this thing. Each student will say, oh, I like how you did that. And that, of course, builds the self-esteem and just helps really build that positive way that we can speak to other people. So we build that within our classes too. So hopefully that would be something that would benefit.
And some children really do benefit from having you by their side, at least at first, guiding them with their, like, because the social emotional regulation, self-regulation is extremely difficult for us to navigate through the screen. And we sometimes I don't even know someone's upset. And I get a message from the grown-up, here's what happened. So I can pick out a lot and see a lot. And it's also the grown-up's role to help facilitate what can be helped at home. But there are ways to manage that. Sometimes the grown-ups, maybe we start off with really good intentions, and then, oh, we forgot to watch the video of that class that we missed, or, oh, we didn't get the construction paper cut out in time. And so your child will begin to feel, and I'm not just speaking to you, Alicia, this is to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Your child will start to feel anxious because they're not prepared or they don't have what they need for that day's session. So it is highly important that you feel like you can understand what's expected of you through our check sheets or however the two of us communicate to you that what's needed the next day, right? That always helps.
And
We know what to expect. It helps reduce our anxiety.
that's a great segue too in what we offer you as the homeschool teacher at home, right? So each week, me and Miss AbiNader will send you all a list, a schedule of what we're going to be doing the next week with all of the supplies, with everything we're going to do, the stories we're going to tell, any activity we're going to do in class, so that you are completely aware of what's going to happen during the next week. And that gives you that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to let your child get their desk in order for the week because we want to build that independence, right? And that, of course, builds so much beautiful buy-in to their own educational process. So you would totally be aware of what's going to happen the next week. So there won't be any surprises. You'll be able to help that kid who needs that extra preparation time. They would already be prepared, right, to know what's going to happen. So it really does help those kids who might be a little bit more anxious about what's coming up, feeling like they need to know, they would know. And that would be a good way
We would love for your
to help you
child
guys out.
to be in the moment of the surprise of a story. And we
Yeah, we
tell
won't tell you
you
the story.
we tell you ahead of time because you are the co-teacher in the setting. You don't need to tell your child everything before it
No.
happens, unless you feel it
Yeah.
could be a trigger or something that they need support.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Communication is key for our online classes. And
Yeah.
we really try to communicate very well with you all to know what's coming down the pipe.
Yes.
I had a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
In terms of the math skills and the language art skills, what is taught there that's different than what's taught in the general circle time or the main lesson class?
You mean in the skills class?
Correct, yes. Like
So
any
yeah. So what's taught there in addition to what is
correct.
reinforcing the main lesson? So
Like any examples you can give to so I can
sure.
I'm having a
So
difficult time figuring out what's the
language
difference between the
arts,
two.
in language arts, there's a whole foundation that many children don't get or get not enough of, which is the phonemic awareness activity. So there is knowing that a letter has a sound, there are syllables, the sounds are put together to make syllables, the word parts are put together to make words, kind of a lot of interactive games that I have this one, I can't wait to do it with first graders to see how they do. But deep in this card deck that I use, there's an activity where I say a 2-syllable word, and they have to say a new word, eliminating the first sound of the second syllable. So if the word is stormy, all right, Ms. Rezzelle, you do this one. Stormy.
Oh, me. Stormy. Stormy. Story.
Story, right? So you take out that. So you're doing that without looking at the word or anything. It's just trying to bring that into your imagination of how these words sound and make connections. So that's kind of some of what would be in language arts. We do a lot more form drawing to get our hands and fingers. We do finger exercises for writing so that we can have proper pencil grip. So there would be a lot of finger individuality. And then in the arithmetic skills, that would be patterns, rhythm, being able to be rhythmic.
Keep on rhythm.
Keep the rhythm. Skip counting. We can do skip counting forward and backwards, moving backwards and forwards, which is all move backwards actions. Say your phone number backwards. They wouldn't maybe know their phone number, but I was looking at you. I wanted you to say your phone number backwards. No, I don't want to put you on the spot. But being able to say something backwards or move backwards is not something we're very used to, and it totally supports the working memory, which is so needed for mathematics. So that's where math would start before we get into solving problems. We would do story problems, 10 little, let me see if I remember this now. 10 little children dancing by the shore to something, I don't know. And then there's four. I forget the whole thing now, but I promise you I'll know it all by when we get started. So, but it's a math problem. There are 10 and then four go away. How many are left? Yeah, so working it out like that in big whole body movement. Does that answer your question briefly? I mean, I could go on, but is that a start?
It does.
Okay. There's no dissent or need to go
I
on.
think
Really like
it
that?
does.
Okay.
And really doing all of the math orally like that, it really helps. I feel like in education, we've been so taught that it has to be on paper and it has to be with a number two pencil and you cannot use an eraser, right? Like that's what we're ingrained in our entire lives. But being able to solve problems mentally and speak it is actually more how we use math in real life. And that's why we really focus on that. It's about making it all practical and making it something that the kids are going to really use forever. Like in second grade, we have learned all of our times tables, 1 through 12. They know them, right? But now we're speaking them through story, and that is boggling their minds. It's like, well, you know what 12 times 1 is. Why is it hard to say I baked 1 dozen cookies, but now I need to bake 2 dozen? How many cookies am I going to make? So that has been a different way to think about things, but that's more practical to life, right? So we're laying that foundation in first grade. And that's why we really take the time, even with skills classes, to doing things with rhythm because music is math. That's what it is. It's the universal language because it is math, right? So we really want to build those strong foundations in them in the work that we do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. Yes?
Yes, Clark.
I am curious about like handwriting, and maybe that's kind of like supported through form drawing, but since there is like a layer of distance, are there ways that you might be able to like support us in supporting our children
Yes.
for developing
Yeah.
their own handwriting skills?
So
Oh, sure.
I imagine my communication on that will be very clear so that we will create, oh, you got something to show, but we will create.
This is a second grade main lesson
There
book,
you go.
right?
Okay. Yeah. So we'll start together on large paper with large bands, doing forms with straight lines and curved lines, and all of that is developmentally necessary, right? So
Yeah.
in public the diagonal line is not necessarily integrated. Some children are not able to do a diagonal line until well after 5 years old. It's
Yeah.
developmentally the last angle to be able to write, the last line to be able to write. So that makes it hard to like really figure it out. So thank you for showing those pictures. I hope you all could seeing that. I did miss some of it. So writing, and then traditionally, at least in my experience in my in-person schools, we started cursive writing in second grade, which some of the forms that Ms. Rezzelle was showing. And this year I've been making sure my third graders learn cursive. They were also just seems like it's a little different in this day and age. So they were needing to work on straight lines and printing better too, so it could come from the top down. I often share resources for you, or if I want you to, if it's like maybe you want to get this book or this thing, but most of the resources will be from my resources that I'll be able to share with you. And I'll let you know where I'm getting my information from too.
I had one other question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Aisha, go ahead.
Real quick. Wow. How many hours a week? Because I'm trying to navigate skills, main lesson, and then also the extracurriculars. So I'm looking at the watercolor, the sewing, the cooking, all the other fun stuff. How many hours a week would you say online learning like is still healthy as opposed, you know what I mean? Like sitting in front of a screen.
I'm not sure there's one answer.
Any
Yeah,
Yeah.
guidance?
one of the things that I didn't say that I had on my notes was being in a Waldorf class, being in this virtual setting in a Waldorf school. We are all changing our lifestyles to do something
Mhm.
different. Yeah, we're all centering our world around these ideas that we want our child to learn in this way. And simplicity is the best. Just so it's not so simple that your child's sitting in front of the TV, watching TV, or not playing outside, So if you, and also single focused things. So I hear of children who have a story on while they're doing book work or something.
Mhm.
That's like two separate activities that probably shouldn't be together. If you want something on in the background, maybe it could be music. But an audible book, you want to be able to sit and listen to the story and let your imagination work with it. Of course, some children need fidgets or something to hold in their hand so they can concentrate and focus. So I don't know, I don't know how to give it a number, but whatever, you have to kind of put your whole puzzle together so that your child has engaging activities, but not overdoing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my professional suggestion as well, is we do tend to overschedule our children because that's just our world, y'all. And at homeschoolers, we're very guilty of that because we feel like we have to put more and more in to make sure that our kids aren't missing out. And which is really a hard thing for us as parents and home teachers to come to terms with. But if we really look with, why am I putting my child into this class? What's going to serve them best at this time? And don't feel like you have to do everything this year. It's okay to just add one extra for the fall and maybe two extras for the spring to let yourself ease into it. So many times I see kids, and this is at my in-person work that I do, they go from activity to activity, activity to activity to activity, and their mom is a taxi service, like taking them everywhere. And I see nods, but some of you understand what that means. But it's not benefiting the child. It's just giving them something to do, right? So it's okay if you want to just do one extra for fall and then add on, right? We don't have to load it down because that might not be the best thing for your kid with the first grade, right? So they have a life of learning and they've got 12 more years of school and we want them to love it.
And if you think about it I think now it's first grade in most Waldorf schools, in-person Waldorf schools. Nowadays, they do keep the children all the way till the end of the school day, but because of childcare and the parents
Yes,
need
mom's
that
got to work.
basically. But in the day, when I first started in the early 2000s, um, the first grade children left school at 1. So they did not have a lot of extra periods. They had a little bit of their world language. They had an extra main with their teacher to do cooking. So their schedule was scaled back. And if you think about it, in an in-person school, they'll have 10 hours of main lesson a week to do all the main lesson activities that we offer in 3 hours a week because
Yeah.
we're hoping that you extend that beyond. Now, it doesn't have to be the whole 10 hours, but it can be, right? So if you're thinking about like how much is if you have an in-person uh, nature school or something that you're connected with. And so kind of building your schedule, the first grader does not need to be in attention, in connection, because they're going to be asked to be attentive online. They're not going to be allowed to bounce on their bed while we're doing our activities, right? So we want them to be able to have their time to be bouncy and then their time to do this directed movement and directed activity that we're working on together. I know that I received a question from a couple of people about the recordings. So recordings are available if your child misses a lesson. And my ideal for your child would be that that's used sparingly, that it's not a regular thing. That's my personal ideal for your child. We can do it. You can watch the recording and come back the next day. Some people will want to use that every week so they can go to their outdoor school. And I've found in my observations in the last 5 years, that is not the ideal for your child's success, just as far as making relationships and being in person. And when you do watch the recording, a lot of times the child's just sitting there watching it, right? They're not participating.
Yeah.
Right. So if they can participate with it, but darn it, I'll never be able to call their name right during that lesson. So trying to find a way to use that recording and sparingly rather than a regular thing is the most ideal. Now, we don't live in an ideal world, so there will be all kinds of different ways that different families need to do it and work with it. And as long as you and and the teacher and parent grown up can keep in good connection and contact about any of these types of things, we can make it work out. All right, with that said, if you have any more questions for us, you can connect with us through Lotus and Ivy. This is recorded and it will be distributed to other families who are interested in first grade. And registration is live. Maybe some of you have already registered. And we hope to see you next fall.
Yes.
We
hope to see you. Yes, in main lesson or in skills or in watercolor or in
I'm
theater
teaching
class. We
watercolor
hope to
too.
see you.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
teaching 8th grade math too, if anybody's wants to sign up for that.
Yes. And if you've got a 10th grader, bring them on because we're doing a class play that's going to be amazing. So let's go 10th grade.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Blessings on your
Thank you.
weekend.
Bye.